point out a number of concepts and ideas in the story itself that maybe you didn't pay attention to. That he wants to make sure that you understand, that you take with you from the story itself. And that is why there's always commentary after almost every surah, every story within the Quran. And Surat AlKahf is not an exception. Actually, it has one of the most rich commentaries in the whole Quran. So if you want to talk about a cluster of ayat that are serving a purpose, in this case from 22 up to 31, are a number of ayat that comment on the story of AlKahf, and they're very rich with the meanings inside them, and they're very much related to the theme of the story of AlKahf. And inshallah, we'll look into them today with some level of detail, and we'll see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to teach us here and what we can learn. So we start from ayah number 22 from Surat AlKahf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم. ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب.
ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب.
ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم. قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم. So you say قل ربي. The lam is completely removed from recitation when you recite continuously. So it's not قل ربي, it's قر. The lam is like it's not even written at all. You go from the qaf to the ra that has a shadda on it. So قل ربي when you read continuously. ما يعلمهم إلا قليل. فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهرا. ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا. So the first ayah in commentary on the story of AlKahf. And we've talked about the theme of Surat AlKahf a number of times before, but just in case you forgot, the concept of Surat AlKahf, it's a Makki surah, an early Makki surah, or a mid-Makki surah, let's say. It talks about the elements that you need in order to build a society, or to build a civilization, or to build a community that is prosperous and capable of sustaining itself. There are four basic elements, and Surat AlKahf goes and talks about them one by one in four separate stories. And it's very unique in that matter. Why? Because the stories that exist in Surat AlKahf are not repeated elsewhere in the Quran. AlKahf are not repeated anywhere else. The story after it, that is Ashab al-Jannatain, doesn't exist anywhere else. Dhul Qarnayn's story doesn't exist anywhere else. Musa al-Khadr does not exist anywhere else. It's only in Surat AlKahf. And you'll find that many surahs in the Quran, the stories are repeated elsewhere. Ad and Thamud and Lut and Ibrahim and Adam. They're here and they're there for different reasons. But in Surat AlKahf, the four stories are unique to the surah. And then you add to that uniqueness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us through the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to recite this surah every single week. So it's something that you're required to read every week. And it's supposed to be something, of course there's going to be some level of importance to it. Why? Because every week we're supposed to remind ourselves what is it that we're here to do and how is it we're going to do it. So we're supposed to have strong societies, civilizations that can sustain themselves. How? We need four elements. You need the last one to start from the beginning to the end. The end is power, Dhul Qarnayn. And then before that is knowledge, which is Musa al-Khadr. And then before that is wealth, which is Ashab al-Jannatain. And the first one is the story of AlKahf, which is the idea. You need to have the proper idea. You have to know what it is you stand for. You have to have the right list of values. You have to have the right ideology. What is it that you're here to do? What purpose do you serve? What fundamental principles do you stand by? These are that's the most important thing of all. If that's not clear, then everything else may help you. Like having knowledge and money and power may help you, but it will lack structure. And you'll make many mistakes because you don't know why you have it. It's not going to be clear to you, why do I need wealth? Why do I need knowledge and why do I want to seek power? if the idea isn't there to guide you as what you're going to use all this for, where are you going to channel all that energy and wealth and money and power, then you're going to end up completely lost. It's going to be a lost cause. The first thing is you have to have the idea. And you have to have the right attitude towards that idea. Meaning you need to understand that this idea is something you're going to spend your life living for. You're going to stand by. It's going to be taking a stand, an ethical stand, a moral stand, a conceptual stand. And you need to put yourself and sacrifice your time and life for it. And sometimes it's going to be hard. And sometimes it's going to be difficult. But having people who have the idea, having people who have clarity on what it is they stand for. That's why AlKahf, Ashab al-Kahf or Raqim, and the word Raqim was there. Because why? Because they wrote down what it is they stood for. They enumerated the points. This is who we are. This is what we aim to do. This is where we're going. This is where we start, and this is where our destination is, and these are all the steps in between that we can see so far. And these are our values, and these are our morals and ethics. Without that, everything else is useless. Even on an individual level. That's why Surat AlKahf is so important. Even on an individual level, it's all useless. Let's stop talking about societies for a moment. Let's just think about building the character of one person. You're going to need knowledge. Of course, you're going to need and want money. And later on, you're going to hope for some level of status, which is basically what power is in one way or another, depending on how you look at it, right? All of that in the life of an individual is useless. It is worthless if you don't have the right idea, if you don't have the proper mentality, if the mindset is not good. So yes, you may raise your children, right? We raise our youth, men and women, and we make sure that they go to school so they have the knowledge, and then we make sure they get a job so they have the money, and then we can give them all our connections in life so they have some power. But if they don't have the idea, it's all for waste, wallahi. It means nothing. It means nothing. Because it doesn't stand for anything. All of that is not going to be channeled in any direction. It's not going to serve a cause. There's no purpose for it. Why? Because there's no mentality behind it. How many people live like that in the world today? The vast majority. How many of Muslim people live like that today? Unfortunately, also the majority. But if that can change, if everyone can learn the story of AlKahf, understand those young individuals, how they decided that the way things are happening, the way things are going is wrong, and this has to change, and I'm going to be a part of that change. I'm going to stand for something. I'm going to revise all the ideas that I have and all the previous judgments that I made, and come up with something that I know I can live for, a code I can live by, and a purpose I can live for. Then things become much more important. The first ayah commentary here is extremely important. It's a very interesting subject or idea. People will say later on, they will say, ثلاثة, there were three guys, رابعهم كلبهم, and the fourth was their dog. And others will go ahead, others will say, خمسة, there were five of them, سادسهم كلبهم, and the sixth was their dog. رجما بالغيب. Just, غيب is the unseen or the unknown. Rajman is just taking a lucky guess. Some of those are five, and the sixth of the dog just starts taking a lucky guess, just shooting in the dark. Basically, exactly, Rajman bil Ghaib, if you want to find the proper analogy in English, exactly like shooting in the dark. No idea, just, I think there were five and six. وَيَقُولُوا سَبْعَةٌ وَثَامِنُهُمْ كَلْبُهُم. And others will say seven, and the eighth was the dog. How does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does their number matter to you? If there's 3 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 15 or 2 or 1, how is that important? How do you read the story of AlKahf? And then the first thing that came to your mind is, well, how many of them were there? No, I have to know how many of them were there. 5? Oh, no, I don't think it's 5. I think if it was 5, then if it was 3, what happened? And then you waste time. We end up distracted, wasting time, talking about something that's utterly useless. Utterly useless, completely unimportant, that has no connection whatsoever to the theme of the story, to the moral of the story. What are you supposed to take from all of this? You just end up reading, talking about something that you're distracted by. It's completely unimportant. You'll find people talking 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Who cares? Who cares? If he wanted you to know, he would have told you there were 5 guys. But that's not the point. Another reason for this ayah is that if you remember at the beginning of explaining Surat AlKahf, I told you that one of the reasons for its revelation was that the mushrikeen were looking for a way to beat the Prophet ﷺ intellectually, to find something he couldn't bring an answer for. So they went to the scholars of Ahlul Kitab and they asked them, Tell us something that no one knows. He will not know. Even if he studied at Torah and Injil, because I thought that maybe he studied at some point or he learned it from someone that no one knows, but very high rated scholars, and it's a secluded issue. People don't talk about it. So they gave him 3 questions. One of the questions were, ask him about the 7 sleepers, or the sleepers, because they didn't know the number. And then the Prophet ﷺ, after a certain period of time, brought the surah. Now the thing is, even amongst the scholars themselves of Ahlul Kitab, they debated the numbers. So the Quran told the story exactly like they knew it, exactly that they had it. And then the Quran said that there's, some people say 3, some will say 5, some will say 7. 2 things are taken from this. First of all, we're not supposed to waste time talking about trivial issues that the Quran left out on purpose because it's not important for us to know. Because it's not something we should be wasting time trying to understand. Learn the concept of the story so you can actually benefit from it. So you can grow as a person and you can prove yourself in the way you think, in the way that you act. Numbers don't matter. Another reason for that is that the scholars of Ahlul Kitab themselves did not know what the number was. Meaning they debated, they weren't sure. So when they listened to this, they were awed by it. They stood, oh my gosh. Even our khilaf, they know about it. The Prophet ﷺ even brought up the issue of our khilaf, to the detail of what our khilaf was. Meaning they made khilaf whether it was 3, 5 or 7 guys, not 4, 6 or 8. Right? The khilaf was whether 3, 5 or 7. That's what they were debating. And the Quran brought the exact numbers. So for them, completely quiet after that. But for us, the importance of this ayah is that you're not supposed to be distracted by the trivial issues, by the superficial pieces of information that don't serve and don't feed into the purpose and concept of the story itself. Because when I talked to you about the story, I gave you a lot of ideas. I told you that this story is talking about a group of young individuals who decided that they didn't want to live passively anymore. And they wanted to take a stand. So they did. And they started socially and financially supporting their community and bringing in a fresh way of thought. The oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what that means. And I told you the difference between understanding, seeing that, and then believing in polytheism or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having children, and how that's a very different way of thought. It's not just an abstract belief. It's not just an abstract idea. If there's more than one God, how does that make you different as a person than believing in one God? It's very different. It makes it gives you a very big different way of seeing life in general and existence. And they brought that forward. And they didn't think for a moment that doing that they were going to make an actual difference in the kingdom that was totally corrupt, in a population that was over 500,000 people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them to sleep for 300 years. For 300 years what happened was people they thought that the king had killed them because of what they were doing, what they were calling for. And people got very angry. And they found the raqim that they had. And they saw the list of rules that they lived by, the list of fundamental principles that they stood for. And people liked it. And people were angry. And they started talking about it amongst themselves. And talking about it. Every time someone does khayr in this community, he goes and kills them. And it became a big issue. And then people started to have protests and walk. And they made noise. And in 300 years, in a couple of years, what happened was he was overthrown. And then khayr was... And then slowly the community changed and went from a community that was non-functional to one that believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because of the effort of a couple of guys for a couple of weeks. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala woke them up so they could see it. Just so they could see it. You see? This is what happened when you did what you did. This is the result of your effort. And then they died again. Why? Just because you just wanted to show them. And for us to think about it. Because they could have just died, right? That would be the end of it. They would hear the story in a different way. But no. Wake up. Take a look. What do you think? You thought you couldn't make a difference? You think that's why the beginning of the surah, the beginning of the story, it says, أَمْ حَسِبْتَ أَنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ وَالرَّقِيمِ كَانُوا مِنْ آيَاتِنَا عَجَبًا. Do you think that this is something that is very unique that we never do again? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not do for others? No, it's not ajaba. He does it all the time. We're the ones who don't take stands. We're the ones who don't actually do anything of benefit. Not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not being able, or not being willing to change the laws of physics even, for the sake of people who take a stand. The sun, the light of the sun was bent for them as they were sleeping. They were moved around for 300 years. Why? Why this miracle? Why this very difficult thing to understand, comprehend, and believe in? Because they did something that is very rare. Just as rare as that. The thing that they did was very rare, is that they took a stand and they decided that no longer were they going to put up with that way of life. Right? All of that could be brushed aside, and then we could spend an hour talking about if there were 3 or 5 or 7 of them. And how was the dog? What type of dog was it? He had his hands out like this in what way? Open, closed? Why was there a dog? Right? And then they just waste time talking about something that has nothing to do with the story. Nothing to do. There's nothing to do with the story. Why are you talking about this? Why is this important? That's why in the ayah itself, قُلْ literally goes to say, رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِعِدَّتِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my Lord knows their number. He is not debating the number. It's not him that doesn't know the number. If he wanted you to know the number, he would have told you. Right? But he didn't want you to know the number. Why? Because it's not important. Because there's no point of you knowing this number. It's not going to change anything for you in the story. Believe that they're 7. Believe that they're 5. Believe that they're 3. Believe whatever you want. Just understand the thing that he did tell you in the story. Why are you looking for stuff that don't mean anything? Why are the topics that aren't relevant to the story itself and the moral of it being debated so much? We do it all the time, by the way. We do it all the time with everything in our lives. Focus on things that are very trivial, very simple, and then we leave the issues that are extremely, extremely important for us. I mean, we overlook and we brush aside the actual, the essence of what Islam is when it comes to raising our youth or for our own selves. We forget what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually is looking at. He's not looking at our faces, He's not looking at our height or our weight or our width. He is looking at our hearts. He's looking at the way we think. He's looking at the way we feel and how we judge others and judge ourselves and the perspectives that we have and the purposes that we live for. This is what He's looking at, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what He's interested in. How is that something that we don't take time? How is that our number one priority in life to take care of that? But yet, when it comes to the appearances, we make a big fuss on it. We fight with everyone on appearances a lot. Not to say that appearances aren't important. They have a level of importance in Islam. Of course they do. We have to walk around with the right dress code as Muslims. But that is not the number one thing He looks at, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not the number one priority for us. That's not what He's interested first with. The first interest is His intentions, His thought, His mentalities, how we feel, how we think, and our ambitions. And then after that He looks into details of not that first. Why our priorities not clear anymore? Why did we mess up our priorities? I don't know. But this is a good example in the Quran. Please don't talk about the numbers. Please don't say ثَلَاثَةٌ رَابِعُهُمْ مِنْ خَمْسَةٌ سَادِسُهُمْ مِنْ سَبْعَةٌ وَثَامِنُهُمْ. Wallah, it's not important. Just say رَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِعِدَّتِهِمْ مَا يَعْلَمُهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. Only a few people know them. Who was ever there with them? Right? Those who were around there with them. No. If you lived then, if you're one of their friends, right? If you saw the bodies, you know. If you weren't there, you're not going to know. It doesn't really matter. مَا يَعْلَمُهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. In certain narrations that some scholars know. Again, I don't see the point. فَلَا تُمَارِ فِيهِمْ. Tumari comes from the concept of mira, which is the origin of mirya, which is to have doubt. So, mira is for you to argue about something that there's a lot of doubt around. There's lack of clarity in. For us to debate something that doesn't have clarity surrounding it in the first place. It's one thing for you to debate and argue an issue that you know 100% is clear and the person in front of you is denying it. So if you're talking to someone about La ilaha illallah, you debate and you argue as long as you need. Right? If you're talking to someone about global warming, stick to the point because it's insane that they still don't see that to be the issue now. But if you're talking about something that does not have clarity on it, meaning in essence, in origin, this issue is not clear. It's not even clear to those who are specialists within it. Then do not waste time arguing and debating it. Especially when there's a lot of khilaf in it. When it's just not clear. This issue lacks clarity. There's a lot of evidence and it's just not clear which way. We haven't landed on anything yet. So debating this superficially, that is a waste of time. فَلَا تُمَارِ فِيهِمْ. Don't waste your time. إِلَّا مِرَاءً ظَاهِرًا. Except a superficial mentioning of the concept, which is basically reciting the ayah. Just whatever Allah, just say that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. That we don't know. And leave it at that. And don't waste time going into details. Specifically when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have given it to you, but He didn't. وَلَا تَسْتَفْتِ فِيهِمْ. Tastafti is an important word because later on it was derived into other things. It comes from the concept of futya or fatwa. Right? Tastafti is for you to ask for a fatwa or a futya. For you to ask for clarification on an issue that is not clear to you. Right? So, first of all, don't talk about something that is doubtful in its essence, which is we don't know the numbers, they're not important. That's number one. Number two, don't ask anyone about it, because you don't know, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet ﷺ did not know about the number. So don't ask anyone. Don't go looking for it. وَلَا تَسْتَفْتِ فِيهِمْ in their number. مِنْهُمْ أَحَدًا. Don't ask anyone. Why? Why? Because it's not important. That's why. Go ask about the things that are important. Ask questions that you feel, if you don't know, is going to reduce your ability or limit your ability to function as a Muslim properly in life? That's what you need to ask about. Don't ask just for the benefit of just asking anything. Because you only have so much space in your brain for information. Well, no, you only have so much space. Don't fill it with a lot of clutter. Don't just put stuff in there that you don't need to know. Well, you're going to find out. At one point, you're going to have to choose between basketball statistics and understanding what it is you need to be as well. At some point, you're going to have to start forgetting that stuff. Or you hold on to it, and then that's what you're going to be known for. This is what you understand, and you lack a lot of other things. It comes to a point because you can only fit so much information into the brain. After a certain point, you have to start. Okay, I don't need this. Yeah, I definitely don't know. Oh, this complete section can be just taken out. Just please bring in a bulldozer and just throw it all away. There's really completely useless information. And then you need to keep space open for the things you need to know. What are the istifti? Don't do istifta. Don't ask. Don't go seeking knowledge from those who know it to find out the number, because it is completely unimportant. Does that make sense? It's a complete ayah in Surat AlKahf telling us, can you please focus on what's important here in this surah, and don't waste time trying to find out what is completely irrelevant and insignificant. Okay, that's the first ayah of commentary on Surat AlKahf. The ayah after it, inshallah, the two ayahs that are. وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا
ولا تقولن لشيء
إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا. So this is a very common ayah. Everyone knows this ayah. At one point or another, they've read it many times, and we think we know what it's talking about. We think it means, whenever you do something, say inshallah, which is 100% correct. Every time you want to do something, make sure that you say inshallah. It shows respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Almighty. It shows that you are conscious of Him, that you know that you can't really get anything done if He says that it's not going to happen. This is clear. This is obviously there. But this is not exactly what the ayah is saying. And that's not what the surah was revealed for. It's something much more deeper. وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ. And don't say about anything you want to do or are going to do, إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا, that this is going to be my next step tomorrow. فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ, I'm going to perform this tomorrow. Right? إِلَّا, except أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. Now that is the simple literal translation word for word. Now what is this talking about? You have in your life many ambitions and hopes for the future. Everyone sitting here has a plan that maybe goes up to 5, maybe to 15 years in his life. What is it that he hopes to accomplish, inshallah, in that time? Some people, we kind of vary on how many years we actually look forward. But we all have some idea what we're going to do next year, the year after, where I hope to be in a couple of years. We have that idea. Now, before you do that, do not say that this is what I'm going to start doing tomorrow. This is what I'm going to start performing tomorrow. Before you ask, is that something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants? Because yasha doesn't only mean will. It also means wants. It means also something that falls under His will subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, what I am planning to do tomorrow, is it something that falls under Allah's will? Is it something that He would will subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is it not? Or is it something if I were to consult with Him on this issue, He would say, no, this is definitely not the right step for you. This is obviously very, very wrong. You're thinking in the wrong direction. This is what the ayah is talking about. And you'll see how the continuation will make that clear. Do not say about anything you're going to do in the future, I'm doing it, before you say, is this something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yasha? Is this what He wants? Is this His will? Is this His plan? Is this what He is hoping for me? Is this my destiny in His eyes subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is this why He created me? Or is there something else? It's not about just saying inshaAllah. Now of course saying inshaAllah is important, because how many times have you planned out a sin and said inshaAllah for it? How many times say, oh, I'm going to, inshallah, go, do that haram thing tomorrow. Inshallah, I'll see you after that. No, very rarely. I don't think anyone says that. If they are, of course, they're probably just, playing around, right? So when you say inshallah, even the simple way of understanding this ayah still serves the basic idea. You see, when you say inshallah for your plans of the future, what you basically are saying, yeah, this is something Allah wants. This is His will. This is what He's hoping for. This is why He created me. This is my destiny. This is what He made me to do or created me to do. We're also not going to say inshallah, right? It's not going to be. It doesn't make any sense for you to say inshallah about something that would actually anger Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is against His will, or is against His plan for you. It doesn't sound right. So not only is it about saying inshallah, no, it's the concept. When you make your plan for the future, right? Specifically, the younger guys, and a lot of you make plans for, athleticism or being an athlete. Think very hard and long. Why are you doing it? Become an athlete. No one should ever tell you not to. But why? Is it something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills? Are you doing it for the right reason? Can you say, inshallah, I'm going to be this? I'm going to be this great soccer or basketball or baseball player. Can you say it, inshallah? Can you put that there? Meaning what you're going to benefit from becoming that, what you're going to do when you do achieve what you're hoping for is going to be in service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His ummah, or is it something different? Or are you going to enjoy something else? See, if you're thinking in the right direction, you'll say inshallah with an open mind and open heart. You'll say it with strength, with confidence. Because yes, I'm going to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through becoming a famous athlete or a famous artist or a politician or a teacher, whatever it is you want to do. There are no famous teachers, but anyways. If you're in teaching, you're not going anywhere. Don't do what I do. I do something else, inshallah. It's a very unrewarding business. Both socially and financially in this life. Inshallah. May Allah make it rewarding, inshallah, later. Inshallah. That's the currency we're hoping for, inshallah. But you don't say that I'm going to do something. Don't say I'm going to do something before you think, Yasha'Allah wa lama yasha'Allah. Is this something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would will, or is it something that He wouldn't? That's why immediately the word after it, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. And remind yourself, and remember your Lord if you ever forget. If you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your plannings, you're planning for the future, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do this, later on my ambitions are this, and you didn't put Allah's will, and you forget, remind yourself of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever you forget. And say, no, oh my gosh, this whole plan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not exist in at all. This whole plan that I have, this whole ambition for the future, what it is I'm going to do tomorrow, this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be pleased with. It's not something that He'll be satisfied with subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why am I doing this? Remind yourself of your Lord whenever you forget. Immediately take a step back. No. I should have thought differently here. So the concept here is not just reminding and saying inshallah. No. Remind yourself. Are you doing this for the right reason? You see, AlKahf, that's basically what they did. When we look at the qissa of AlKahf, because this is commentary on the story, that's basically what they did. First of all, they were not superficial young individuals, so they wouldn't care about the numbers. They were looking at essence, and they were looking for substance. They wanted to change how people lived. They wanted to make people's lives better in substance. And there were people who every time they saw, the example of that, obviously, is once they were told that you're going to be killed by the king. What did they do? They retreated to the cave. Why? Because you have to think now. We have to see, is our next step, we have to make sure our next step is going to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills and wants. I can't do anything. I can't just continue doing things after the reality has changed. Maybe what I'm doing right now with the changed reality is not Allah's will. I need to sit down and think about it. We have to sit down and talk. The reality has changed dramatically. Is continuing doing what we're doing Allah's will, or is it not? And they came up, okay, no, it's not, we have to find something else. But they didn't get the chance to actually execute it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them to sleep and woke them up a few hundred years later. So it was done. But that's what they did. They were very conscious and very aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their decisions, their life decisions. If you can do that, then khalas, you don't need anything else. Basically, you have the golden ticket to always stay on the Surat al-Mustaqim. You will never get lost, inshallah, in your life. Every time you come up with a plan to do anything, even short-term plans, even just where am I going to go tomorrow night? What am I going to do next weekend? Well, if it's just something, if you think, is this Allah's will? Will He be satisfied with this? Will He not be angry? Which is basically what taqwa is. Just asking that question. That's why, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. Remind yourself of your Lord. Remember Him Remember your Lord when you forget. وَقُلْ, and then say, عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي رَبِّي. Asa means perhaps, but that's a very bad translation. But that's the actual word for word, literal translation. But asa in the Quran means that there's going to be a high probability, or may Allah do something for me. Asa Rabbi yahdiyani, may Allah guide me. This is the concept in Asa Rabbi ay yahdiyani. May Allah subhanahu, may my Lord guide me. لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا رَشَدًا, to something that is closer to the rashad than what I came up with. لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا. لِأَقْرَب, it means closer. مِنْ هَذَا, closer to than what I have. مِنْ هَذَا, what I've actually done. رَشَدًا, to the path of rashad. Rashad means success in this life that continues in the hereafter. I've talked about the word rushd many times before. This was a theme in Surat Al-Jinn, if you remember, a year and a half ago, and then it was repeated twice in Surat Al-Kahf. Rashad is when I'm hoping to do something that will please Allah and be successful. I needed to do two things. I needed to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by concept, and I also needed to be successful. That's an example. Do they work either in any other way? They shouldn't work nothing should work in any other way. But I'll give you an example. Let's say you're starting like a halaqah, something as simple as this, right? Now it's going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but will it be successful? Right? So if you're hoping for it to be successful, then you'll say rashad. That's your concept, because it's going to be pleasing Allah and successful, which should be the criterion for everything that we do in our lives. Should be that. Does it please Allah, and will it be successful? He doesn't want failures. He doesn't want plans that are going to fail. Now they will fail, because that's the nature of life. Right? That's the nature of everything. You're always going to fail a number of times before it works out. But your intention should be that I'm going to do this for the sake of Allah. I'm going to make sure that it's going to be a success as well. It has to work out. It can't be a failure. So وَقُلْ, and then say, after you remember your Lord in your decisions, عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي رَبِّي, may my Lord, I hope that my Lord will guide me to something that is more successful than the plan that I actually came up with. Because you're coming up with plans. I'm going to do this tomorrow. Why? Because I thought about it, and it's something yasha'ullah. It's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be happy with. He wills this, I'm going to do it. But then say at the end, Ya Rabb, guide me to something even better than what I came up with. Because I came up with something good, I'm pretty sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could make my plan better. Because it's a human plan, it's always going to be flawed. By nature, it's going to be flawed. It's fine. It's very difficult to perfect anything. Right? So always, even when you come up with the right plan, for the right reason, in the right direction, you're doing everything right, still say, Ya Rabb, help me find something that's closer to the perfect success rate and the perfect reasoning than what I have. Ya Rabb, let me find something closer to rashada than what I actually have. That's why it's a very specific dua. There's nothing like it in the Quran. If you go through the whole Mus'haf, you will not find anything that's even close to this. Many scholars, when you go to the books, struggle immensely trying to understand what this dua meant. Very few of them actually got the point. وَقُلْ عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي رَبِّي لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا رَشَدًا. Meaning, why did he use لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا? Well, because he said in the beginning that إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا. I'm doing that tomorrow. What are you doing tomorrow? What's your plans for tomorrow? Well, make sure you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help tweak your plans so that they are closer to rashad than they actually are. So that they come closer to pleasing Him and being successful than they are. Everything we do well, you could have done better. Correct? Everything you do well, you could have always done better. Even a perfect game, even a perfect lesson, even a perfect building. Everything would have been done a bit more efficiently, more effectively, right? Quicker. Everything. And that's not wrong. It's not wrong for us always to hope and to strive towards perfecting. Isn't that what excellence is? Isn't that what ihsan is as a concept in the deen? You're always trying to be better. That's why وَقُلْ عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي. I love this dua. I think it's beautiful. But I think that only very few people make it. Because in order for you to make it, you have to go through the process at the beginning. You have to have plans for the future that involve trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be successful. And this is what you're trying to do. Like Halaqah. Yeah, involves that. It involves reminding yourself of Allah constantly as you are planning out your future. But if you do those things, if you're making that step and you're conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you'll make this dua. Say, Ya Rabb, I've made up my plan to please you and to be successful. Please allow this plan to be better. Help this plan have a better success rate, Ya Rabb. and make sure this plan is more pleasing to you than I initially hoped it would be. Ameen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us that. Say Ameen, inshallah. Okay. We recite, inshallah. This is the second. First one, don't be superficial. Understand substances and essences, and don't waste your time talking about trivial issues that don't help your cause. Number two, make sure that as you're planning out your life, you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're aware of Him, you're continuously and consistently asking Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to help tweak that plan so that it's more pleasing to Him and it's more successful for you, which is the concept of mashallah. We move to the third chapter, or the third comment. وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا. So the recitation for our qira'ah is 300 سِنِينَ, right, with the tanween on mi'atin. It's not 300 سنين, it's 300 سنين, which is a very specific usage. I mean, it's not the common way of saying numbers in the Arabic language, but it's a specific one here. قُلِ اللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا لَبِثُوا لَهُ غَيْبُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أبصر به وأسمع ما لهم من دونه من ولي ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا. The third one is to remind us at the end, in the midst of it all, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who knows. He's the omniscient subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the all-knowing. He's the all-hearing. He's the all-seeing. And everything works based on whatever He wants subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your ability to control things is close to zero. You do your part. You serve your purpose. You push towards khair in everything you've got. But you remind yourself, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the beginning. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right now, and it's going to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of it all. Never ever forget that part. That it's always Allah. You do your part. You have to do your part. It's why He created you, the whole point. It's so that you do your part. You see what it is that needs to be done, what it is that is missing, where what gap you can fill, what khair is not being perfected and done properly, performed in the way it should be, and then you go and you do it, and you spend your life, because it's a very small period of time that you're here. You're here for a few years, you're only one person. Find a gap and fill it for the time that you're here, doing the right thing, spreading khair to your ability, and reminding yourself that it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what Ahl al-Kahf didn't do. That's the whole point of this story. Ahl al-Kahf did not do that. Why? Because they were young and it wasn't clear to them. And what do I mean? I mean is that they didn't believe that their effort was going to do anything. There were 3 of them, right? Or 5 or something. Right? But let's say there's 3, just for the purpose of the argument. 3 guys, what are 3 teenagers going to do? What could 3 teenagers do? Any 3 teenagers. Bring 3 teenagers from any part of the world, anywhere. What if they came together and decided to do something? What is the extent of what they're going to do? Yeah, I mean, khayr, not shar. Shar, they can do a lot. You know, teenager shar is he's almost limitless. But let's say khayr. You want to do something good. You want to actually spread something good. What could they do? Yeah. For them, they said, it's going to be limited. We're going to try, but it's going to be limited. We can only do so much. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the whole point of the story is it's limitless. Here, sleep for 300 years. Wake up, see. The whole kingdom is Muslim because of you 3. So 3 of you, the whole kingdom is Muslim now because of you, because of your effort. Understand the concept? Why? Because He's Allah. That's why. Because you're da'if like me. You're weak. We're weak. You don't have much. Just do your part. Just do your thing. Just find out your job, fulfill it, and just leave the rest. Because it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not up to you anyway. To begin with, it's not up to you. Just do your part. That's why وَلَبِثُوا, and they stayed فِي كَهْفِهِمْ, in that cave 300 سنين, 300 of years. Basically, that's what the وَازْدَادُوا, that's why the tanween here is so important. 300 سنين would have been 300 years. 300 سنين, 300 of years. وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا, and then you add 9. and then they added 9. Of years makes the whole difference. Now we're going to do a calculation. All of you have iPhones, I see, mashallah. If you don't have an iPhone, then you have something that has a calculator. Now take a calculator for a moment. No, seriously, every kid who has one, you all have it. Don't act like you don't have a phone. Everyone has a phone. Take a phone. Yes, Sheikh, you don't have a phone? MashaAllah, the first person I've met maybe in 10 years. Take out a phone. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick calculation. Now, the difference between the lunar year, the lunar calendar, and the Gregorian one is 11 days. Roughly 11 days, right? So how many days would be the difference if someone, in 300 years, what difference would there be? So, right? So do 300, and then times that by 11, right? Now, divide that by a Gregorian year, which is 365, right? So what do you end up with? What's the number you got? 9.0, right? 0, 1, something, right? That's why they stayed in their cave for 300 of years, of Gregorian years. But instead of this, then you have to add 9 if you want to use the Hijri or the lunar calendar. Does that make sense? Understanding? So the ayah in itself, just saying, just in case you think, yes.
So the sinin word used here for years, is it always used for
we don't know.
lunar years?
We have no idea really. But this ayah specifically, we don't know. In the Quran elsewhere, we don't know. Like there's a, I never actually done a study on that, so I'm not sure. But I'll look into it online. But here, he said 300, then they added 9. Why I say that? You're going to say 309. Isn't that the normal human way to say a number? You say 309, that's a number. But no, you have 300 of years, and then they added 9. Why? Because if you thought that it was, no, it's 300 of of the sun's years, and then if you want to take your lunar years, then it's 309 years. And it's just a testament of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't think Allah knows? You don't think Allah knows down to details? Again, you don't think He knows if there were 3 or 5 or 7 of the... He's telling you exactly how long they slept. You're saying the little mathematical... قُلْ اللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا لَبِثُوا. Say again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best how long they spent. How long they spent in there. Just like you said, رَبِّ أَعْلَمُ بِعِدَّتِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the number of them. He also knows how long they spent. He knows. And He gave you the number. You want the number? Here's the number. Here's in 2 calendars, not in 1. Just in case you're wondering how long they spent. They spent 300. Which 300 of this and 309 of that, so that you know exactly what He's talking about. Just don't get caught up in tribulations. And never forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is overlooking everything, overseeing everything. He knows everything, and He's there for everything. Just do your part. To continue the ayah itself, لَهُ غَيْبُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. He owns, to Him is owned the unseen world of the heaven, the skies, and the earth. Because everything has shahada and has ghaib. Everything has something that is seen, that you can measure, that you can calculate, that you can, is tangible. You can put it, you can study it through science. And then there's ghaib. There's something that is unmeasurable. There are things that are just unmeasurable. They don't fall into that. They're beyond it. He knows that too, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's showing you that I know the scene. I've shown you the exact number of them. And I know also غَيْبُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. أَبْصِرْ بِهِ وَأَسْمَعْ. In Arabic, there's 2 ways for you to show that you are awed by something. If you're impressed by something, there's 2 ways to do it. Either you say, مَا أَجْمَلَهُ. How beautiful he is. And that's how you can say it like that. مَا أَجْمَلَهُ. Or, there's another way to do it. You say, أَجْمِلْ بِهِ. There's 2 ways in the Arabic language for you to show that you're impressed by something. It's called صيغة تعجب. It's how you show that you're impressed. You either say ما أفعله or أفعل به. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is magnifying Himself by using the phrase that is used in Arabic language to show that you're impressed by something. So أبصر به, meaning how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything. He is the all-seeing subhanahu wa ta'ala. وأسمع, and He is the all-hearing subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one is like Him. So it's a phrase, or it's a form of speech that is based on showing that you're impressed by something. أَبْصِرْ بِهِ وَأَسْمَعْ. Indeed, He is the one who sees everything. Indeed, He is the one who hears everything, subhanahu wa ta'ala. مَا لَهُمْ مِن دُونِهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ. No one, not the people who slept and died, not the people who didn't believe in Him, not the people who later on believed in Him. No one. مَا لَهُمْ مِن دُونِهِ, without Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, or besides Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. مِن دُونِهِ, besides Him. مِن وَلِيٍّ. Wali is someone to stand by, is an advocate, is someone who will accept your way, or someone who will stand by your cause, or will add to it, or be a part of it. مَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ. No one will stand by them besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one has anyone to stand by them. besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يُشْرِكُ فِي حُكْمِهِ أَحَدًا. And He does not bring into His sovereignty and into His ruling subhanahu wa ta'ala an associate. There's no one with Him. Meaning, you have no one else but Him. And He does not bring anyone else. Meaning, He's not coming with a posse. He doesn't have a group of people or a group of individuals that are going to work with Him. It's only Him. And you have no one else besides Him. And I'm saying the third concept here, very, very, very beautiful. It starts by a little mathematical piece of information, just so that you can strengthen your iman if it's weak. Not that you should need any of this. And then remind yourself, it's all Him. He sees it all. He hears it all. You have no one else besides Him. There's no one else besides Him anyway. So who it is that whom are you looking for? Whom are you trying to impress? Whom are you spending your life trying to please? If it's not Him, subhanahu, that's a waste of your time. And remind yourself that whatever you do, when you look around and the reality seems that, oh, this is not going anywhere. It's impossible. You have no idea of the reality of the Muslim world. You have no idea about the reality of the world itself. Things are completely messed up to the point where it's impossible to fix it. That you weren't asked to do that. Why are you doing it? No, it's good to be in touch with reality so you can plan properly and accordingly. So you can plan accordingly, you need to know what's going on. But it has nothing to do with whether you're going to do your part or not. Never give up hope. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ. Why would you give up hope? Why would you believe that it's not going to change? Of course it will change. Just do your part. Just fulfill your role. Just serve your purpose. That's all you were ever asked to do. That's the third comment of the surah. The fourth one, inshallah, is the ayah after. We recite the ayah after, inshallah. وَاتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِن كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ
وَاتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِن كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ
لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا And recite. Watlu is specific. It's talking about recitation of the Quran. It's not talking about qira'ah is different. We've talked about the difference. Utlu means for you to recite. And recite what was revealed to you. Ma uhiya ilayka. What was revealed to you from the book of your Lord. Min kitabi rabbik. La mubaddila li kalimati. Nothing has the ability to change the concepts within His words. It's not about this. This is not talking about changing the actual words, meaning someone flipping a letter around or changing. No. It is talking about the principles that exist within the words. So what He's telling you is recite what was revealed to you from the book of your Lord. Recite it, right? And know that the principles that are in here are unchangeable. They're not subject to circumstances. They're not subject to time or place. These are infinite. The words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wisdom that they contain, the guidance within them are infinite. They are always there. They will never change, and you need to know them. So recite these words time and time again until they become clear to you. Until you no longer have any doubts about them. Until you know that there's no more ambiguity regarding the way you view them, because they don't change. They're there. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. If you stand for something with the intention of pleasing Him and helping others, He will stand by you. He will stand by you. He will change laws for you. Your effect will be beyond your ability to imagine. That will never change. That's the law. That's the law of the world. It will never change. This will not change. You want to believe it, you don't want to believe it, well, it's up to you. But it is what it is. This is what it is. Nothing will change this ever. And once you know that, by the way, it makes life much easier for you to live. You become much more, you have peace of mind. This is what He said. He said, I do my part, and He'll take care of the rest of it. I shouldn't worry about anything else. I don't waste my time. I just preoccupy myself with finding out where my part of the puzzle fits in this big world, and I do it, and then I fulfill it, and I spread khair in every direction that I can within my ability, and the results is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's business, not really mine. And that's how you live. What to read what was revealed to you from the book of your Lord. Nothing that He said, none of His words are changed or can be changed. They are constant. They're constant, and they're there. They always will be. وَلَن تَجِدَ مِن دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا. And you will never find anyone to seek refuge in. Lahad is where you can put. They use it for the grave, but lahad is where if you're sleeping, I'm not sure, maybe not all of you need this, but when you sleep, it's sometimes nice to have have a wall behind you, or something where you can put your back to. It just feels more comfortable when you have a solid body behind you, or solid where you can put your back to. It just feels better, right? So multahad is something for you to lean on, right? وَلَن تَجِدَ مِن دُونِهِ, and you will not find besides him subhanahu wa ta'ala anyone you can lean on. Not just lean on in the literal meaning, of course, but figuratively here. Meaning no one else's words are reliable but his. No one else's words, nothing else besides what he said is going to be reliable for you. You may find goodness, you may find intellect, you may find depth and wisdom in the words and the thoughts of others, but you can't rely on anything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rely on Him. You'll try and you will fail. And you'll come back and rely on Him again subhanahu wa ta'ala. So recite what was revealed to you from the book of your Lord. And understand that His words of wisdom and guidance are unchangeable. And you will not find anyone else who is reliable besides Him. Does that make sense? That's the fourth meaning. Because if you accepted the first concept of being someone who cares for essence and substance and not superficial ideas that don't serve anything. If you understand the second concept that you have to plan things out to please Him and be successful, and that has to be something that you're thinking about constantly. If you understand the third concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knowing, all-seeing, all-hearing, the omniscient Jalla Jalaluhu, so there's nothing for you to be worried about and you shouldn't be preoccupied with anything but your role, then the fourth one comes easy. Because you're going to be asking after that, what do I show me? I understand, I accept. I'm going to be someone of substance, I'm going to plan it out, and I do it for the sake of Allah, and I trust in Allah. What are my conceptual ideas? What are my fundamental principles? Alright, recite the book of Allah, and you'll find out what His words are. Meaning you have to take some time to learn. It's not going to come easily, it's not going to come immediately. How do I know that? Because Ahlul Kahf, the same thing for them. They were teens, but they were teens of knowledge. Meaning they went and they learned. They sought out those who had the knowledge of the book in their time. And they learned separately from different people, but they had the same ideas, and then they were able to do khair because Allah brought them together. But they had to learn. You have to learn. You have to spend some time reading in depth, understanding. But once you do, it gives you wings. And then you can fly. You can do whatever you want. And your effect will become infinite. And your impact on the community will become limitless. And you can do more than you ever thought you could do. Because even right now you're thinking, I can only, no. Whatever it is whatever limitations you have to yourself in your mind, just break that. See, just break that ceiling. Just flick it away. Just flick them all. One by one. I can't do this, I can't do that. No, flick it away. It's all doable. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do whatever He wants. You can't do anything without Him anyway. So why limit something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do anyway? If He is limitless, then why are you limiting your potential? If you're doing it for His sake and within His will, illa in yasha, it's His will. Why are you limiting yourself? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. But recite His words rather. And understand the concepts within them. And then don't rely on anything else. And you'll be good. That's the fourth concept. The fifth one. We have to do the fifth one. It'll be a crime if you don't read because this brings it all together. So recite inshallah ayah number 28. واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي
واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي
يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا
ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا
ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا
ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا
واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا
واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا.
The fifth concept that you're going to need. وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. Now the word sabr at the beginning of it kind of tells you that this is not going to be easy. You're told to be patient, be perseverant. وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. Meaning, fill yourself with patience and hold yourself down in perseverance to do something. That's what وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ means. I need you to be patient. I need you to make yourself patient for something. So what is it that he wants you to make yourself patient for? And stick to it and not give up quickly. Because it's going to be hard. Obviously, if it was going to be easy, he would not tell you to be a sabr. He wouldn't use that word. He wouldn't say use perseverance, because that's what sabr actually means, perseverance. Fill yourself with perseverance so you can do this. If it's easy, I don't need to do that. I don't need to tell you, oh, Allah, I need you to be very strong tonight, because it's, we're going to be playing video games until 3 o'clock. So I need you to be strong, be perseverant. And you'll be like, okay, it's going to be... No, it's fun, it doesn't matter. But be perseverant for other things that are going to be difficult and heavy. وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ. In the companionship and in the presence of those who call on their Lord, بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ, in the mornings and the nights, يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ, as they seek the satisfaction of himself, or they seeking his face. Now, seeking his face sounds really weird in English, because that's literal translation, doesn't make any sense. But يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ in Arabic means that you are doing it to please him, so you can enjoy seeing his face Yawm al-Qiyamah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. That's the concept, يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. Because even in Arabic, before Islam, you would never say that. أُرِيدُ وَجْهَكَ, I want your face. Why? What was wrong with you? No, it's mine. But the concept later on in Islam became strong, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the thing that you will enjoy most, the reward you will enjoy most in Jannah, will be looking at him. So the concept of yuriduna wajhahu became very strong, and we don't find it weird in Arabic anymore, but in English it still comes out. The ayah is saying, be perseverant and stick by those who call upon their Lord in the mornings and the evenings, hoping and wanting and seeking his satisfaction, seeking his reward. Why? Because often they're not the coolest group, are they? And they're not the funnest either. Often, the people like that aren't the funnest group to be with. The other guys are way more fun. They're cooler. You enjoy their company more, right? But the guy who's more Muslim, the girl who's more multazimah, she's not as fun. She's not as enjoyable. So you end up, no. Be perseverant. He's telling you, I know, it's boring. So be perseverant and stick to them anyway. Do not leave the companionship of people who think like that. People who are like-minded. Because aren't you like that as well? Aren't you someone who is calling upon his Lord in the morning and the evening? You're praying Fajr and you're praying Maghrib and Isha, and you're seeking his satisfaction and his pleasure subhanahu wa ta'ala to see him. Aren't you like that? Well, then stick to people who are like-minded. That's how AlKahf did it. The only reason that these couple of guys made a difference is because there was a couple of them. Because it wasn't one person. If it was one person, I'd be telling you the story of one guy. There's actually a story of one guy. His name was Mu'min Yasin. And you know what happened to him? Go study Surat Yasin and see what happened to the one guy where he was doing it on his own. What happened to him? It's a group. Groups are strong. Communities, societies, groups of people make strength. How are we going to do that? Stick by those. Perseverantly and patiently. Stick by those who are like-minded. Who are like you. Who call on their Lord every day, morning and evening, and seek his pleasure and seek his satisfaction. We're not done yet. The ayah is actually even وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ, and make sure your eyes don't move away from them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, see your eyesight? Look at them. Do not look anywhere else. I mean, don't even take a sneak peek on what the other guys are doing. No, don't even do that. Just stick to this. You found someone? You were lucky enough to find someone who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you do, who wants to do khair as much as you do, who will help you in your religion more than you actually have. You were lucky enough to find someone like that. Don't look anywhere else. You would be insane to do it. Stick to them. Glue yourself patiently. Just stick. Don't go anywhere. You're so lucky. Because it's so hard to find. Well, it's a rare currency today. But it doesn't have to be. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be a rare currency. It could become something more. How? If just the people who were like that came together and stuck together and stopped fighting all the time. And stopped disagreeing on stupid, trivial, superficial issues that don't mean anything. And they actually came together and stuck together. وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ. The phrase in the Quran is beautiful. Don't let your eyesight even go. No, don't look. Just look. Look at them. Look at them. Of course, it's literal. It's not figurative. You're not supposed to stare awkwardly at the person here. But the idea here is clear. Figuratively, don't. Because when we look they say that the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So don't even look. Don't even look. This is good, right? This guy is like you, is like-minded like you. He has the same ambitions that you do. He fears Allah and wants to be like you do. Then don't look there. Don't even give the shaitan a margin to work in. Don't give him anything. تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا, wanting the adornments of this life, of this low life, الحياة الدنيا, wanting the joy, the superficial, temporary joys, momentary highs of this low life. Don't do that. Don't look at others that will offer you that. It will bring you all the fun and the games and the adventures and no. Not saying that you have to live a boring life. I don't want this misunderstood. You can be with those who are like-minded, who are Muslims, and enjoy every moment of your day, and be adventurous and do. But don't the haram thing. I understand what I'm saying. Don't look at the haram part of it. Don't leave them because they're just not up to your. There are no friends in the world who are going to be perfect. Every friend you have and will have is going to be flawed, extremely flawed. Why? Because you are as well. We all are. There's no such thing as a perfect friend. But if you find someone who is like-minded, who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will bring you closer to Him and allow you and wants to work with you in pleasing Him, then hold on and focus. And don't look for zinat al-hayat al-dunya. Don't look for anything else, any adornment of this low life. Don't look at it. The third one, وَلَا تُطِعْ, to make it even clearer. And do not follow or obey or be like or befriend. Tuti' has a lot of different meanings. It could be don't obey, don't follow, don't befriend, don't spend time. مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا. And don't obey or follow or be around or be like the ones whom we have made their hearts indifferent towards our remembrance. Ghafla, indifference, oblivious, just plain not caring. Right? This is, of course, I'm an expert of dealing with that because I deal with youth. It's very hard to get young people to care. It's hard. It's just hard. It really is. It's a difficult thing. Youth equals a certain level of indifference, where I just don't care. Why? Because you're young. Because it's so early still in life, and you just don't feel there's no responsibility. So you don't care. People who are older, who have tried things out, have seen things in the world, they know you can't be indifferent. It's horrible. You have to care about stuff. And they choose what they care about. For youth, it's hard. That's why Ahl al-Kahf were so unique. They were young, but they were not ghafla. They had no ghafla. They were not indifferent. They cared. Do not be like, do not befriend the ones whose hearts have become indifferent from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not waste time with them. Maybe help them if you can. Bring them to the, but do not waste your time with them. Don't be like them. Don't obey them. Don't follow them in their footsteps. Don't be that. Don't be that. مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ. Their heart is in a state of indifference. I'm thinking of the remembrance of Allah. وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ. And this person has followed their desires. They're following. They do what they want. They do what they please. What they feel like. What makes them happy. Doesn't matter. Right, wrong, haqq, batil, khayr, shar. These concepts, they don't exist. It's just whatever makes me feel good. وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ. Followed their whims and their desires. وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُوطًا. And their matter is going to be furut. So, ever see the masbaha, they do this. So if you cut the rope, in Arabic we'll say farat, right? Because everything, all the little things, beads were in proper place, now are scattered in a way where you cannot bring them back, and there's no organization for them, and they're lost basically. So do not follow the person whose heart is in a state of indifference from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is following their desires, and that their matter at the end of their life, Yawm al-Qiyamah, is going to be furuta. It's going to be scattered. They're scattered people in this life, and Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to be a scattered issue. There's no structure, there's no focus, there's no essence, there's no substance, and there's no reward at the end because it's all just completely lost. Because there's nothing tied up. Remember I told you that when you have money, wealth, and knowledge, it doesn't mean anything unless there's an idea. Without the idea ties everything up. It's the rope, keeps everything together. You lose the idea, furuta. It's all lost. You could be very knowledgeable, you could be very famous and wealthy and strong and networking skills and high social status amongst people. Without the idea, furuta. It's useless. The fifth concept in the commentary of AlKahf. The ayat after that we'll study next time, inshallah. will be, what is it you're supposed to do? Okay, what are you supposed to do? You accepted all that? Okay, this is what you're supposed to say. Say this now. Now teach this. This is what you're going to be. But the fifth concept to me is so important. The Prophet ﷺ said it many, many times. In the hadith that are so sahih and so mutawatir, meaning some of them are even mutawatir, where ﷺ will say, "Mar'u yuhshar al-mar'u ma'a man ahab." The person Yawm al-Qiyamah will be standing beside Yawm al-Qiyamah, the person whom he loved, meaning his best friend. In another hadith, "Al-mar'u ala dini qalilihi." Every human being has the religion of his best friend. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلْ. So take a look. Who is it that you chose to be your best friend? You may say, no, I'm Muslim, he's Christian. No, you guys are the same. If he's your best friend, you're the same. You may say something else, but it's not. It's not. Deep inside, it's all the same. Because that's how life works. You have to look for people who are like-minded. Then you have to hold on to them. And you have to make sure you don't get distracted by anyone else, by any dunya thing, by anything that is of a low life, that is adornments of this world, is not important. You have to make sure you don't follow those who are indifferent towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have already followed their whims, and those who their matter is going to be scattered and useless and worthless. The fifth concept of this commentary, friendships. I can't emphasize the importance of friendships. Groups. Look for people who agree with you on the concepts of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing something with your life. Look for them and hold on. And make sure you never leave them. And make sure that you build something with them. Because that is so important. It's so precious. It's just so precious in life. Probably one of the most precious things you will find in your life is a good friend. Someone who you can, people you can depend upon. People that will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الصاحب من دلك على الله من دلك على الله مقاله وحاله. The person who takes you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with both what he says and what he does. Like the way he lives, the way this person lives is bringing you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you understand how important that is? To find someone like that. The Prophet ﷺ, did he not need a friend during those times? When he left for Medina, did he not have a friend with him? I'm going to end this with the story of the last 2 minutes. Umar ibn Khattab had a friend. This was before Islam. Now this guy accepted Islam late, meaning Umar tried to get him to become a Muslim early on, and the guy wasn't interested. But Umar ibn Khattab kept on communicating with him, sending letters, sending messages. Then he became Muslim, finally. And he was happy that he was Muslim. And then later on, after the Prophet passed away, or Bakr passed away, Umar ibn Khattab became the Khalifa, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He heard, because he always asked about him, he's always seeing what's he's like, and what is he doing, or what news does he have. He finds out that this guy has kind of lost his focus, and now he's going and he's drinking and he's doing his own thing. He's lost his. So he takes in, and people tell him that, and they're angry, saying, you should bring him here, and you should make an example of him. Someone who knows Amir al-Mu'mineen, who's a friend of, apparently a friend of Amir al-Mu'mineen, doing this is very, disrespectful. So he said, okay, give me a paper. So they give him a paper and he writes something down on it. And he closes it, makes it a letter, like seals it, and just sends it to the man. So they send it to the man. He opens, he's sitting down, he's drinking, he's doing this thing. He opens it, he reads, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. Min Umar ibn al-Khattab, from Umar al-Khattab, ila fulan, to his name. فَإِنِّي أَحْمَدُ اللَّهَ إِلَيْكَ. I praise Allah in my life and in yours. غَافِرِ الذَّنْبِ, the one who forgives sins. وَقَابِلِ التَّوْبِ, and the one who accepts repentance. شَدِيدِ الْعِقَابِ, the one who is extreme in his punishment. That's it. That's all he said. And this man read these words, and he put it down, and then he read them again, and then he read them again, and the man was telling the story, and then I got on my horse, and I read them towards Medina. And he was living in Iraq, and he went to Medina, and he said, I read them like 1,000,000 times, the whole time. Ahmadullah ilayka, ghafir al-dhanbi, wa qabil al-tawbi, shadid al-iqab. Then he came to Umar al-Khattab, and he started to cry. And he hugged him, and he thanked him, and he made repentance. And Umar al-Khattab turned to the people and said, قَالْ هَكَذَا فَاصْنَعُوا بِإِخْوَانِكُمْ. This is how you're supposed to treat your brothers. لَا تَكُونُوا عَوْنًا لِلشَّيْطَانِ عَلَى إِخْوَانِكُم. Don't help Iblis, don't help Shaitan to take away your brothers more than they're already gone.